The views, opinions, and advice expressed in this podcast are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of Pattison Media or the sponsors of this program.
Breathe out. 2, 3, 4.
Wellness is, everybody hates the word vagina, and I said, okay, I have to step into this really uncomfortable word and normalize part of anatomy, just like a nose and an elbow.
So think of people in construction, oil and gas, electricians. They are twice at risk to develop rheumatoid arthritis, and women that are in nursing are 30% at higher risk.
The 3 dimensions of a good life: a happy life, a meaningful life, and the third one is a psychologically rich life.
I would tell my younger self that it is not a bad thing to be different, and a lot of the times being different is what makes you special.
When our breath becomes regulated, that allows the nervous system to regulate, so the mind can become a little quieter.
Welcome to Choosing Wellness, your podcast for practical advice about how to attain better physical and mental well-being so that instead of just surviving, you're thriving. Choosing Wellness is powered by Pattison Media. Now, in this series, we'll share a health journey, explore the trends, and talk to the experts who will help you live your best life. And we'll have fun doing it. In this episode, we take a look at mushrooms, a super fun chat with the Vagina Coach, arthritis, and how to detect it is our health tag. A Being Real story about growing up with pain, and Life Unlimited, Stephanie Staples, gives us 3 dimensions to live by. I'm Linda Freeman. Come join the journey of choosing wellness.
How to choose wellness.
Urinary incontinence affects about 200 million people worldwide, and 1 in 4 women over the age of 18 experience episodes of leaky urine involuntarily. And this is according to the National Association of Incontinence. So I was thrilled when I came across the Vagina Coach. Yes, you heard me right. Kim Bopney is a leading authority in health and fitness coaching for women with pelvic floor dysfunction. She's helped thousands of women, including herself, learn how to do pelvic floor exercises and get back to living life to the fullest. Kim, it is so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I need to start with why the Vagina Coach.
I know it's not the typical thing you grow up thinking, I want to be when I grow up.
That's right.
It's this unspoken conversation that affects so many people. And there's just an unbelievable amount of silent suffering that happens that I really want to play a role in changing.
In which you are. And there is where the Vagina Coach comes in, and you are changing the way we think, the way we talk about it. People even cringe still just to hear the word vagina. I mean, it's part of the woman's anatomy. It always has been.
I knew I needed a bit of a brand shift. And I was speaking to a group of women entrepreneurs, and I got up on stage and cracked this joke because all the other speakers had been some sort of a business coach, strategy and marketing. And here I come up talking about vaginas. And I said, now you have a Vagina Coach. It was uncomfortable because everybody hates the word vagina. And I said, okay, I have to step into this really uncomfortable word and normalize part of anatomy, that it's just like a nose and an elbow.
We've heard of pelvic floor exercises, the Kegels. But from your perspective and all the work that you've done in this area, what advice can you give to women?
Exercise is a big component, but it's so much more than a Kegel exercise. And I don't want to take anything away from Dr. Kegel, who created that exercise with the intention of helping his patients. We need to give credit where credit is due. What I feel is limiting about the Kegel exercise is that it's a static exercise. It doesn't train the pelvic floor dynamically. It's a group of muscles, just like we have muscles in the rest of our body, and we can apply fitness principles to train the muscles to react at the right time with the right amount of force so that it manages all of the different jobs that we do. The challenge is, though, also, it is so much more than just exercise. It's about hydration. It's about making sure we poop well every day. It's about our posture. It's about our sleep. It's about our stress. It's about our breath. Like, there's so many different things. And so I take this holistic approach. The very first thing I recommend is see a pelvic floor physical therapist. They are specialists in the pelvic floor musculature. This is, I think, the most underused women's health resource that we have. And if we had been given this knowledge ahead of time, way earlier in life, it's just such a life-changing therapy. So that's my number one. And then we can get more granular in terms of nutrition and hydration and exercise if you want to go there.
So let's talk about that nutrition, the other layers of this that people should be doing.
I always start with how much water do you drink and do you poop well every day? Those are two really key points, because women who are experiencing urinary incontinence will often stop drinking water because they think, well, if I don't drink anything, then I won't have the urge or I won't leak anything and I won't have to go to the bathroom, especially because I'm going to be out of the house. And what happens over time is they become incredibly dehydrated. And when we're dehydrated, our urine will become a lot more concentrated, and actually it's irritating to the bladder. So the bladder will then actually start to signal more strongly and more often. So even though we're thinking we're doing the right thing, we're creating more issues. And also because we're not drinking enough water, we're also then going to be constipated. And constipation is a huge contributor to pelvic floor dysfunction. It can contribute to stress urinary incontinence. It can contribute to urgency. It's a huge contributor to something called pelvic organ prolapse. So that's where the bladder, uterus, and or rectum can shift out of their proper anatomical position. So if somebody is not pooping well and they are dehydrated, you can do all the exercise in the world. You're not really going to move the needle much.
You've given us great advice. You've got some programs. The one you were referring to earlier, is that the Buff Muff?
Yeah.
I mean, you make it fun.
Yeah, we have to have some fun with this. It's a heavy topic, and it's heavy literally and figuratively, and there's lots of shame and embarrassment, and not everybody loves the name. I love the name. A lot of people love it, and hopefully if you don't love it, you'll still come and join us because it's really great information on the inside. But so how Buff Muff came along, I created a 28-day challenge where it was now, okay, I want you to create this habit of the water and the pooping and the exercise and all the things that you do. And that just totally took off, this 28-day challenge. I originally called it just a Kegel challenge, but then I started in social media just being like, hey, it's time to buff your muff. So I changed it to the whole program name just became Buff Muff because that was what people were enjoying and it was fun. A big part of what I do is I want to impart that this is not just about stopping leaking or getting rid of back pain or helping with prolapse. That's what everybody's coming in for. But ultimately, we are increasing our resilience and our capacity for life and our longevity. I want to help people balance. I want to help people lift heavy stuff. I want people to do things that they have been told they can't do. I want people to feel like they can get up off the floor. People always say to me, what if I'm seated? And I understand there are some people who will never go back down to the floor. I appreciate that. But there's many people who just have stopped and they really can. They just need a little nudge. So I kind of want to open up this movement diversity, and people who've often been told, oh, if you have prolapse, you can't lift heavy and you can't jump and you can't run. And if you have incontinence, you can't do this. And so I want to open up those doors and create more freedom.
Well, you certainly are. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
It's never too late. The oldest member I have in my community is 93.
Oh,
my heart explodes with that. It's never too late to come in and make change and do hard things and feel really, really good in your body.
I love it. It's never too late to buff the muff.
Yep.
Kim, thank you so much for your perspective, your insight, for making this a fun conversation, even though it is a hard topic at times and something that we all need to be aware of. It should be part of our exercise regime, our health and wellness. And, you've really shed some really good light on this topic. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you so much for helping broaden the conversation.
And you can follow Kim on Instagram at Vagina Coach and check out her website at vaginacoach.com and listen to her podcast Between Two Lips and join the Buff Muff movement. Coming up later on Choosing Wellness, how yoga therapy calms the mind, moves the body, and helps heal. Health Tag. Inflammation shows up in the body in many ways. And one of those ways is arthritis. Arthritis is Canada's most common chronic disease, for which there is no cure. It strikes people of every age, from infants to adults, and stays for life. Arthritis results in painful inflammation and stiffness in joints, limiting the ability to move. Left untreated, Arthritis can cause permanent joint damage. Today, 6 million Canadians have arthritis. That's 1 in 5. And by 2040, it will be 1 in 4. We need to know more about this silent disease. So Choosing Wellness producer Karen Habashi caught up with Carleen Pollock, Vice President for Arthritis Society Canada, to unfold this often debilitating disease.
So lots of people know a bit about arthritis. So let's dig into arthritis more. Can you tell us the most common types of arthritis?
Yeah, there's actually over 100 different types of arthritis, which I had no clue about when I first joined Arthritis Society Canada. Osteoarthritis is the most common type, affecting more Canadians than all other forms of arthritis combined. Inflammatory arthritis, most people will know this one, is rheumatoid arthritis. And you know when you see people's hands, or they say their hands are sore and they can't move them easily, that would be inflammatory types of arthritis. However, the most common form of arthritis is autoimmune. And this is where the immune system starts to attack one's healthy tissues. The other type of arthritis, which again, totally new, and a lot of people actually do have this, and I'm sure you and I might know somebody, is gout. Gout is a form of arthritis, so it's one of the 100 types. And actually, children can get arthritis. They can be born with it. And a really common one is juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And that affects 3 out of every 1,000 children, which makes it the most chronic childhood disease.
How does arthritis affect a person's daily life, physically and mentally?
Arthritis can really impact someone's mental health. And I actually had a donor tell me just recently that he knows more people with arthritis that would rather commit suicide, unfortunately, than live with the daily pain of arthritis. But I'm sure when you and I think of arthritis, we're like, oh, just take a Tylenol and it's just going to go away. And that's really not true. It affects a family too. Imagine you getting arthritis and now telling your husband that you can't travel as easily and you just can't keep up with your kids. So it affects your motor skills. It causes daily pain. It affects somebody's ability to work and just do everyday tasks that I'm sure you and I would take for granted, like doing up your shirt or just cutting the vegetables for your dinner. Over half of working Canadians have arthritis or under the age of 65. And 1/3 of people with arthritis are actually diagnosed before 45. And I think one of the stats I find really staggering is that is about to increase by 60%. Arthritis is actually the leading disability on why people go on sick leave and medical leave in the workplace. And it's really because of repetitive motions. So think of people such as men in construction, oil and gas, electricians. They are twice at risk to develop rheumatoid arthritis, and women that are in nursing are 30% at higher risk to get arthritis too in their careers. 99% of knee replacements and over 70% of hip replacements are because of arthritis. So hospital inpatients for hips and knees are costing $1.2 billion Canada-wide. What we really need to do is start to have a conversation and let people publicly understand what arthritis is and their employers. So we need to fund research, we need to fund programs, and we need to really do a better job of advocacy and knowledge translation for what arthritis is for all our communities.
Lots of people think of arthritis as an old person's disease, to be honest. But with your statistics, a lot of people we meet in life can be suffering from arthritis. There's a stigma attached to having a condition, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's totally a stigma behind it. There's embarrassment. Are you going to see me differently? Are you actually going to give me those tasks because you don't think I can do it? The more and more people that I've been meeting, they'll say to me they actually work harder to do their job because they don't want to have the stigma.
I would love our listeners to know what are some of the signs they should consider if they have that, they should consider arthritis.
I would actually 100% direct people to arthritis symptom checklist, which is located at arthritis.ca. I'm not an expert, so there's lots of different symptoms behind that. And many people are living with this debilitating disease and the symptoms. And what we really need to do is make sure people are aware of this checklist, go online, self-diagnose themselves, and be able to go then to their family doctor and advocate for themselves. So we need to catch it early, have the conversation with your healthcare professional, advocate for your health, and make sure you get the results that you need.
The perfect advice, I think. You should always speak up and advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And with arthritis, The earlier you detect it and you get treatment, you have better outcomes from that. Because the longer you wait, your tissue gets more damaged, your cells, and that's where, the more severity really kicks in. We've done some really good work in the other disease sectors. It's time for arthritis, especially when I tell you that arthritis is the most chronic disease in Canada. It's more prevalent than heart, stroke, diabetes combined. And that is shocking to know.
That's a shocking statistic.
It's 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men. It's over 20% of everyone that you and I know. And it can range from being born with it, getting it after pregnancy, because of work. And as you age, we need to really understand and start having active conversations about what arthritis is. And if you get diagnosed with it, talk about it. Don't just keep it in and be silent. Talk about what this disease means and does to you, and don't be scared about it.
Thank you so much, Carleen.
I really appreciate your time and helping us spread the awareness of what arthritis is. This opportunity is exactly what we need to start changing that dialogue in this country. So thank you.
Thank you. And I hope more people get to understand the impact of arthritis on our community as a whole. We are all in it together.
For more information, go to arthritis.ca, check the list, and start the conversation. Later on Choosing Wellness, we hear Grace's story. Arthritis pain is all she's ever known.
Life Unlocked.
Modern research has been able to identify the active compounds, study the health benefits, and really validate some of the historical uses for heart health, immune system. These fungi offer a lot of benefits.
Over the past few years, the popularity of adaptogenic or functional mushrooms has increased. Mushroom protein powders, teas, and coffees are popping up everywhere, and people are jumping all over the power of mushrooms. But let's take a step back. First, what are adaptogens and what are adaptogenic mushrooms? Now, adaptogens in herbal medicine are natural substances considered to help the body adapt to stress and create a positive effect on bodily function. Adaptogenic mushrooms are said to fight the adverse effects of stress and improve your overall health. Now, when we're under stress, free radicals are released into the body. And if they get out of control, they can lead to health issues. Now, adaptogens help neutralize free radicals. You can think of them as defense support for your immune system. And the body doesn't produce them on its own. As we understand more about functional mushrooms, research shows that adaptogenic fungi can be powerful in supporting overall health. But we're not talking about the white ones you chop up to put on your pizza. They are not adaptogenic. Whether a mushroom is considered functional depends on whether it contains specific stress-supportive compounds beneficial to your health. Many of us have heard of chaga, lion's mane, reishi, and shiitake. Now, these are all considered to carry adaptogenic compounds. Benefits vary depending on the mushroom. For example, reishi mushrooms boost your immune system, while lion's mane is known to help fight cognitive issues, reduce anxiety, and even protect against heart disease. Now, adaptogenic mushrooms are not new. They've been used in herbal medicine worldwide for thousands of years. Over the last few decades, research has been booming. Many studies have already proven its effectiveness. However, more human-focused studies are still needed. Keep in mind, there's no regulation around how much mushroom a product must contain to be marketed as a functional mushroom product. So here's what you can look for. Although there is yet to be a recommended daily dosage, they say less than 500 milligrams would have little to no effect. Also, mushrooms absorb nutrients from their environment, so look deeper at what products you're consuming. Organic mushrooms, sustainably grown, where growing environments are regulated, will be the best for your body. Overall, functional mushrooms can be a great way to be proactive about your health and lower the chances of a range of chronic health issues down the line, as well as improving your mood and energy levels. So if you're serious about getting the most benefits out of functional mushrooms, it's recommended that you take them daily. Although studies have found them to be generally safe, they do affect your body. So keep track of how you feel and ensure you consult a healthcare professional first. Coming up, we talk about the 3 dimensions of a good life with Life Unlimited, Stephanie Staples.
Being real.
As an infant, she was diagnosed with arthritis. Her life journey so far hasn't been easy, but she's determined to live well and make a difference. This is Grace's story. This is Being Real.
My name is Grace Parker-Palladwar. I'm 22 years old, and I have juvenile idiopathic arthritis. I was diagnosed with arthritis when I was 18 months old. My parents noticed that I was crying all the time and I wouldn't walk. They took me to the doctor and they found that I had arthritis in my knees, ankles, and jaw. So it's been a very long journey with lots of ups and downs. I'm 22 now. I've struggled with dealing with my medications, managing my pain, my mental health, and even just accepting my disease. My parents always told me, you're so strong and you're so brave and you are still able to do everything despite having your arthritis. And there was good intentions with that, but it kind of had this mental block that I can't let my arthritis win, or if I'm dealing with pain, I have to keep pushing through it because I can still do everything despite having my arthritis. But I've learned through a very long time that it's okay to have bad days and it's okay to say, you know what, my arthritis is kicking my butt today and I can take a break and get back to things the next day. But it's really hard accepting it and having it be a part of your identity, but not take over everything. I thought that if I let my arthritis win or took a day off or accept my pain, that it meant that I was a failure, which is so not true. I think there's definitely a lot of stigma still because a lot of people are still under the impression that arthritis is something that only impacts older adults. And when I tell people that I have arthritis, even at 22, some people just don't believe me. Or if they do believe me, they have no real understanding of what it's like in day-to-day life. They don't understand what a bad day looks like and what the pain looks like and how it affects every person and how it affects people differently. I think if someone's telling you that I have arthritis, this is what I can and can't do, just being open to have those accommodations and being understanding and even just remembering that that person has arthritis and knowing that it doesn't just affect your physical health, it affects your mental health. It comes with extreme fatigue too. You're more lethargic, you're slower at doing things, and assuming that, not making the assumption that that person's lazy or that they just don't want to do the work, that there are real reasons why they can't do certain things. I go to therapy pretty regularly, and that was one of the things that did really help because not only was I struggling with accepting having arthritis, because deep down for a long time, I was still that little girl that just desperately wanted to fit in, and I didn't want to be different. And having to explain that I'm different and having people know that I was different was a really hard barrier. And I felt very alone and very isolated. My medications had some very nasty side effects. And in elementary school and in high school, I had this one medication that would cause me to throw up, and I would have to run to the bathroom at school and throw up. Another medication I would take made my face red and puffy and swollen, and I gained 15 pounds in 1 year. And the side effects really hindered my self-confidence, and as well as it created an aversion to medications for a long time. And I stopped taking my medications outright without telling my doctors because the side effects were so bad. And my arthritis was going unmanaged, so my pain was even worse. It was even harder for me to do things. And it wasn't even until summer of last year when I started taking a really hard look at my life. And I said to myself that I don't want to be in pain anymore. And I want to be able to take my medications and live my life. And I started going to therapy, and I started taking some medications to help out with that. And one of the things that I really went through therapy was dealing with my aversion to medications, and as well as the isolation that I felt. And it's been a long process, of course, as mental health has its ups and downs, but I think going to therapy and talking to my friends and family and other people with arthritis, because I've met a lot of people with arthritis with the Arthritis Society Canada. That's definitely helped me come to terms with it and helped my mental health overall. I would tell my younger self that it is not a bad thing to be different. And a lot of the times being different is what makes you special. And it's what gives you so many opportunities in your life. And it's still hard, but at the end of the day, it's worth it to put in the effort to take care of yourself and deal with living with autoimmune diseases or chronic illnesses. I'm proud of myself for being so vulnerable, and if my story resonates with anyone, it just makes it all worth it. For anyone that's going through any sort of mental illness or chronic illness or anything, try and talk about it with people is probably the thing that I want to put out there, because we need to start talking about the struggles that we're facing, especially accepting our illnesses that we're going through. And I think by being vulnerable, that is the way that sets you free. And it's definitely how I've been able to be set free. And anyone that starts talking about it, you should be proud of yourself, because it is very hard and it is a very long journey.
Thank you for sharing your story, Grace. For more information, go to arthritis.ca.
I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living.
Life Unlimited with Stephanie Staples.
All right, well, it's time for Life Unlimited with Stephanie Staples, who was a nurse, who now improves lives as a motivational speaker. Steph, it's always great to have you. I still think it's amazing you gave up your nursing career to help people in another way.
I knew there was something more, something different, something better, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew, like, this can't be it.
Exactly.
I'm not alone with that, right? Like, we have this certain quality of life and we just think that's it, but there is many different levels, and how do we up that level? And we don't know what we don't know, right?
Exactly. And that's what you're so good at doing. And you bring neat perspective. I was reading the idea that you had, it was in one of your blogs, about this 3 dimensions of a good life. And I thought, this is really cool. Can you explain where that concept has come from?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not my idea. I actually read it in the American Psychological Association. It was a paper by really smart people, but sometimes that is a superpower that I have, is to take these high-level ideas and like, hey, how do we pull them into our own life, right? Because how many times have you read a book or something and you read it, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other, but it's like, how do we actually make this applicable? But I thought this one was. So it talked about the 3 dimensions of a good life. And the first one being a happy life. So it's a life where you feel comfortable, you feel secure, you feel joyful. Like, well, that sounds really reasonable to me. It's like the outcome of that is life satisfaction. The second one is a meaningful life. So that is a life of significance, a life of purpose, a life of coherence. I feel really good when I can talk to people and help people. And it's that societal contribution where we feel like we matter, what we do matters, who we are matters, how we show up matters. And the third one is a psychologically rich life. So that's one where you have, and I think I'm an expert in this one, where you have variety and you have interest and you have perspective changes. And the outcome is wisdom, right? We get to a certain place, a certain age, and then we have acquired this wisdom from doing so many different things.
And I think so many of us strive for that happiness and don't know how to find it. Like, how do we get that happy life? Or, what are we doing that is meaningful? And that psychologically rich life, we need to put time, thought, and energy into understanding these 3 dimensions and how they work into our lives.
Yes. Even if you just pull one out this month and think about how we can actually make that happen. So for me, like a happy life, like security for me, one of the things is living within my means. Like, I don't feel good if I've overextended myself. I don't feel good if I don't have that safety cushion. So, think about, what do you need to have in your life to feel secure? That joy, what do you need to have in your life to feel that joy on a regular basis? And a big thing right now is awe, that feeling of awe. When is the last time you felt awe? right? That you just like, holy mackerel, and you stopped at that forest. Or I have a rose bush on my walk to town. Honestly, it's the ugliest rose bush, but it smells so amazing. Even if I'm running, I have to stop and smell this. And it just smells.
You have to stop and smell the roses?
Literally. Like literally. But that tiny little bit of awe, that tiny little bit of extra joy, it's worth taking 10 seconds more in my run. But you can still slide these dimensions into your real life. The biggest thing is awareness, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know what? I have been feeling maybe a little insecure or not experiencing that awe or joy or not having enough, or just noticing what's missing, like paying attention to what's not there, what would fuel you up a little bit more. And we all have different ways of enjoying that.
It's nice that some people are able to find the happy life, the meaningful life, the psychological rich life can come from your work. But if it doesn't, don't give up. There's ways to bring that in. You can hit all of these points by doing other things in your life that enriches it. And I always say to people, like, it's nice to like your job, at least to like your job, but then fill your life outside of that with all of these things that can give you these three pieces that can make it full.
You must take a moment to go within and to ask yourself these questions.
Yeah, and you always talk too about the importance of how other people can inspire you to do something a little bit different and give you some of those great ideas. So go internally, I think, check in with yourself, try to figure out your list, but then share it with people.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a documentary recommendation. It's called I'll Push You.
We've known each other our whole lives. My immediate thought was, Pat and I should do this together. I wonder if I could do that in my wheelchair.
He went something like, you want to go across 500 miles in northern Spain with me? Okay, I'll push you.
It's about two best friends that went on the Camino de Santiago. One of them's in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It was incredible. So I was talking to somebody after that. She had done the full Camino. And by the time I was done the conversation, I'm like, this has got to be on my list. I don't know what year I can do it, but this will be on my list for sure. And, just from a conversation or from a documentary or from, you never know where that inspiration is going to come. So yeah, say it out loud and ask people questions and talk to people about, even asking that question, like, what are you excited about? What have you done in the last month that's giving you joy? And then sometimes they say something like, oh, maybe next time you walk by a rose bush, you'll stop and give a sniff. You'll think of me.
To really say that you can stop and smell the roses. That statement's been around for a long time and it works. Whether you're actually really literally smelling the roses or you're just stopping and paying attention to what's going on around you. The gas pedal's on almost all the time with so many of us. We need to take the foot off the gas and really take a look at our lives. And these three ideas to have that happy, meaningful, and psychologically rich life, I just think is brilliant stuff.
Wish I could take credit for it.
Well, you can take credit for making it real for many of us, right? And as you said, chopping through all those weeds and getting down and giving us what we need to be able to be successful by using these ideas. Now, before we go, is there anything else that you would like to say?
I always say, time to live your life unlimited. What's the option? To live your life like limited? Limited is no fun. Live your life unlimited. Let's go.
I love it. You can find Stephanie Staples at stephaniestaples.ca.
Mindfulness Moment.
Lisa Dumas is a yoga therapist. She guides people through their own experience of the present moment. Today, she's going to talk about what that actually means when it comes to breath work and movement.
Yoga therapy is a wonderful piece of the puzzle when it comes to creating optimal physical and mental health because of its power of regulating our nervous system. So somebody whose mind is racing and they're feeling that chaotic stress, we want to offer them movement that is rhythmic in time with breath, even just focusing on movement that is accessible and rhythmic, and it really forces the mind to focus on what the body is doing. And anytime we're moving, whether it be with a yoga therapist in a yoga room, going for a walk, any kind of exercise that we're doing that is not overtaxing our system, but allows our breath to regulate, will send a message to our body that all is well. When our breath becomes regulated, that allows the nervous system to regulate, so the mind can become a little quieter. There's a little bit more space between those chaotic thoughts, There's almost a more easeful, calm sensation within the body and the mind. And a yoga therapist will have these specific movements that they know can really offer that experience to an anxious person. So it might be movements like a flowing bridge pose, or moving in and out of lunges, or on hands and knees, spinal flexion and extension like a cat-cow. These very simple, gentle, rhythmic movements. Of course, that's all based on the capabilities or what feels appropriate for the person that you are working with. But the point is, when the breath starts to lengthen and deepen, there is a soothing of our nervous system. And then there's that space in order to perhaps reach for another tool to invite present-centered, body-centered awareness. In anxiety, the mind is not present. It's in what-if thinking. When we have moved and our breath has slowed down, and then we can gather ourselves and feel our feet on the ground, feel the sensation of our skin, fingertips, feel the breath in the body. We are body-centered. The body is the part of us that's always present. In the present moment, usually for many of us, we're privileged to be okay in the present moment. And that present moment is where there can be the regulation and then the reminding self that in this moment, everything's okay. Sometimes the hard part is just putting on our shoes to get out for that walk in nature. So what can we do to start that momentum? And then when it comes to stress, yoga therapy might offer productive rest in the way of non-sleep, deep rest, or yoga nidra. And this is a style of meditation that anybody can do. You don't have to have practice at meditation, because the practitioner is comfortable and lying down in a position where they can fully rest. And the meditation is completely guided. And the idea is that the body is having the experience of rest while the mind can just ease. The mind can be a little bit more free. And studies have shown that this is wonderful for sleeplessness, for helping us to catch up on sleep. This is also wonderful for nervous system regulation, which affects our digestive system, the inflammation in our body, and our all-over well-being. Yoga therapy can be a real boon for all of us.
Life is challenging, and choosing wellness in our daily lives may seem like adding to the already long to-do list. But together, we can make it easier. Join us on the next Choosing Wellness as we tackle being a parent, social media and youth, and the sound of healing. I'm Linda Freeman. Let's connect again soon, as together we take the journey of choosing wellness. You've been listening to Choosing Wellness, an initiative powered by Pattison Media, designed to inspire and motivate a healthy life. For more information on this program, go to everythinglifestyle.ca.
Another Everything Podcast production. Visit everythingpodcast.com, a division of Pattison Media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.